Hi, welcome back, guys, to another episode of Driven by Christ Auto. So, anyways, it's Tuesday morning. We just got up. Jamie's done already went inside. She's getting ready for the day. She's gonna be checking our phone calls and seeing what we got lined up for our customer order for today. But anyway, so just to kind of let y'all know what all happened after we got off work yesterday, Monday. I dropped Jamie off and I come back to the shop. I had to take care of some scrap pieces, and I went ahead and scooped up a barnyard find. Now, y'all know how I do our barnyard finds. We go out there, we literally buy every part. We don't try to buy duplicate cars, but if we have money to buy cars, and it's not ones that we already own, we go ahead and we buy them. That way we're going to try to build every car that this game has to offer. And you know if I do get more viewers, hopefully one day, uh I'll buy the other DLCs and show y'all how to do that. But anyways, we picked up three good cars. We got the old Ford, what is it? I think it was a Ford Thunderbird. It was that car that they had on the little child show cars that had the big wing on the back of it. I want to say it was like a I want to say it was a Thunderbird. But anyways, I'll just have to show you the car. We found one of them. We found a some type of Buick that had a supercharged V8, and we found a pretty cool little SUV, which I don't know if we're going to race it, but it does have the high-powered dual overhead cam V8 in it, and it's an all-wheel drive SUV. So this is going to be a pretty good vehicle to probably race with, or it could be it kind of reminds me of a Chevy SS Trailblazer, maybe mixed with like a Dodge or something. It's like a mixed breed of a car, but it's just one that I'll have to show you. In fact, we may actually start on that car as our next build. And I also went ahead and took the Eclipse down to the track, and I did a nighttime tournament. I was able to get down there and in time, because it didn't take us very long to finish our other episode, but I was able to get down there and do a race with it, and the Eclipse is undefeated. I red lighted in one session, but out of three sessions of running, we never did take a loss. So that was a good car. We are going to do a drag race episode with it. I will show y'all guys that probably after we get done with our customer order. I'll show y'all how the Eclipse did. It's man, this car is like, whenever it takes off, you don't need slicks. But anyways, before we even get started for the day, we're going to take a message from our Lord. Our beautiful Savior, we long to comprehend the depth of your love that surpasses our knowledge. We've seen that there's an enormous difference between really knowing you and simply knowing about you. Instead of just knowing some facts about you, we want to enjoy the glorious experience of your loving presence. We realize that we need the help of your Spirit, strengthening us with power in our inner being so we can grasp how deep your love is for us. We have been alive, you have been alive in our heart since the moment of our salvation. We've discovered that the more room we make for you in our inner being, the more you will fill us with your love. You've been teaching us to expand this space in our heart by spending ample time with you and absorbing your word. We want to learn to stay in communication with you more and more, praying continuously. These are joyful disciplines, and they keep us close to you. Lord, we ask that your love may flow through us into the lives of other people. This makes your love in us complete. In your loving name, Jesus, amen. Alright, so this is going to be references from this is going to come from Ephesians chapter 3 verse 16 through 19, First Thessalonians chapter 5 verse 17, and First John chapter 4 verse 12. But I mean, yeah, this has a big deal in our everyday lives, guys. Just right here, Lord, we ask that your love may flow through us into the lives of other people. One of Jesus's main things, if all the rules that he put above all, was to love one another. And to love one another, that means to treat other people fair, whether their skin color, how they act, what they're doing, because nobody is perfect. People are always going to make mistakes. You can't hang everybody for their past, but if they're willing to change their future for the better, you got to let go of that stuff and help them out, or else they'll never come out of the hole. I was one of those people that was in a hole, and somebody pulled me out of my hole, finally, and I'm a better person now. I've lost a lot of friends in my change, but I guess they really wasn't my friends if they don't want to be around me now that I changed my life and I want to do better for other people. I don't go around bashing people. Oh, you need to be reading the Bible. Oh, you need to be doing this. No, I don't do all that. But I am a overly abundant good person to people that I don't even know, because everybody deserves that respect. Now, if these people are out to hurt other people and do bad to other people, no, I do not waste holy things on unholy people. But you can tell that that person that's suffering and they want to see a change in their life, you get that feeling. The Spirit talks to you. And I don't know how to explain it. I've never felt it in my life before, but whenever I gave that 100% dedication that I wanted to change, that's whenever I started seeing and feeling stuff. But anyways, guys, let's get in here because we done kind of burned up some time, but that's real important. We're gonna run in here and Jamie's done already got everything turned on for us, so we don't have to calibrate nothing. She's been coming out here in the shop, been doing a lot of stuff for me. I done taught her a lot of things, so let's get over here. Yeah, like I said, I took the Eclipse out, so I had to move our first Driven by Christ drag car out of the dyno shop and move it into here because we got to do some maintenance work to it. It's kind of dirty. It needs to be cleaned up. It needs the oil change and fluids changed, and we'll get it ready for some racing too. But I want to show y'all that Eclipse. But first things first, we got to keep business going, and we got to get our customers. So we're starting out today with $343,000 with a total of 8,307 scrap parts. So we are climbing up the ladder in scrap parts. So let's see what we got. Alright, so this guy's got a 2003, it's called a Six Sun Selbion, but it's actually a Hyundai Tiburon. A friend of mine had one of these whenever I was, younger, but or at least I felt younger then. But anyways, it's a Hyundai Tiburon. And the message is, "Hi, it's me again, Johnny. Hey, we remember Johnny from whenever we first opened. Today I have this sports Tiburon for you. Rust isn't sparing this model, especially when it's not kept in a garage. It stood between cactuses, so it looks as if it drowned it. Even though the bodywork is up for complete renovation, the mechanics don't look bad. The owner was a fireball who drove it like there was no tomorrow and probably heated up the engine, of course. Okay, so they overheated the motor, so we're probably going to have to do a motor pull. He didn't have the time nor the ambition to take care of it, and he abandoned it. Please tidy it up, and I think that we'll manage to sell it as the perfect example. The mileage will not arouse suspicion. I'm waiting for your call. See you soon." Alright, so this is Johnny, the one that owns the dealership downtown. So he's sending us a Hyundai Tiburon that he picked up, kind of a junker. So let's go ahead and give Johnny a call, and he's going to get the vehicle towed down here, and we'll see what we're up against. Boy, oh Johnny, I gotta talk to him. I ain't seen him in a minute. I gotta show him this SUV that I picked up in the barnyard farm, which I am gonna show y'all that too. It's coming. We're gonna build it. Gotta be patient. Anyways, let's check out this car. Alright, so we're outside, and yes, this car definitely has got some rust. It's got some damage. So we're gonna be doing a lot of body work. Oh, that's not good. The back window's blowed out. That means the whole inside of this car got filled up with water at some point in time. Looks like it's got a sport exhaust system already on it. Let's see what we got going on up underneath the hood. Definitely showing signs of a blowed head gasket. I already see we got an old fuel filter on here. Looks like the bottom end of the motor and the turbo is showing to be pretty good. Well, we're gonna go ahead and get it wheeled around back. And this is Johnny down there at the dealership. So this car is actually gonna be for sale. I don't know. We'll check out the work order. Let's go ahead and get it moved to the washing bay. It's already done been rained in, so I don't think it's gonna matter. Let's get it cleaned up. Alright guys, so we got it over here in our washing bay. We're gonna go ahead and hit that. We may have to hit it twice. Try to get a good angle on it while it's washing. Alright, so multiple times of cleaning this car off. This thing has extreme amounts of outer body damage. Now let's see what the frame is. Oh, the frame is gone. This thing's got so much rust, so we're gonna be busting the welding machine out on this one. So let's get the door open and let's see what we can do about this interior. Time lapse. Alright, so we was able to, we had to use quite a few cans of coverall. We're going to have to tell Jamie to call up O'Reilly's and just go ahead and order another case, because we've been killing that coverall inside these vehicles. It's been getting crazy. Oh, man, I dropped it. Hold on, guys, I dropped something. But anyways, great product. So even the door panels are messed up. Back seats messed up that I'm seeing. Let's see, trunk open. Yep. Yep, we got a lot of work ahead of us on this vehicle. So now that we got it cleaned up, we can go ahead and let's get it on rack 1, and I will see y'all there. Alright, so we got this thing in here now. Air conditioner's feeling good in here. Yep, starting to get warm, guys. We're almost out of winter. We may have a few, maybe another cold spell come through, but we went ahead and did some work. We did a lot of work Monday. Like we was out really late Monday or last night, taking care of stuff for the shop. So let's get this thing up off of the ground. And we're going to go ahead and start pulling body pieces off. Because we already know that, that this ain't going to work. This car has got to be in like mint condition to be sold. And plus we want to give our shop a good name. We want to keep getting Johnny's business, because if he's in the car flipping business, we're, buying cars and selling them. He just don't know how to work on them. So that means he's got to have us. We got to treat him fair. That way we can keep his business. We scratch his back, he looks out for us. Keeps our doors open with work. Because there's not always a promise of a customer. So, but in the auto mechanic world, yeah, I mean, cars are always wearing out. So you're gonna, if you're in the auto mechanic business, you're gonna stay busy. So, and get these windows out. We're just gonna pull the whole door at one time. We ain't gonna pull all this stuff out separately. Alright, so it looks like for the most part we got the car down to the bare frame. We're gonna go ahead and start disassembling our interior, because we know it is just there is no fixing this in here. Oh, I hate whenever it does that. Alright, let's see. Gotta do all this again. We're gonna have to pull the steering wheel. We are gonna put I think he wants to keep this car pretty much factory. Um, we're not going to be doing any performance modifications. He just wants to keep it factory. So let's go ahead and look at the customer order and see what all he's wanting done. Jamie should have a list. Alright, so check the ABS pump. So we're going to do a full complete brake job on it. Of course, I figured it was going to need a new battery. Ooh, so they have looked into this car. Yeah, this is going to be a complete engine pull. We may be able to remachine a lot of the stuff in the motor, but yeah, with what it's showing me on this list, we're going to be pulling the motor. So factory paint. So he does want it that yellow color. What is it? What was the yellow color? Oh, actually, the factory color was white. Okay, it's going to be a nice white. We may be able to fix the rims. If not, I think I got a set of rims that we can use on it. Let's look at them. Oh, the rims look good. They just need to be cleaned up. Another real good thing, if you've had a vehicle that's setting up for a while, another product you can buy at O'Reilly's, whenever you're trying to clean up aluminum wheels, there's some stuff that's got it's called Alumabrite, and it works really good for aluminum surfaces. Now if you're using something that has acid, oh god, man, I had a brain fart there. Hold on just a second, guys, I'm getting a phone call. Alright, sorry about that, guys. I had to answer that phone call. But anyways, so we got a lot of work ahead of us in this car. We're gonna do our best. Let's get all these fluids drained out. Yeah, let's go ahead and take care of what's on the top side. Oh my god, dude, this coolant hasn't been changed. You know this car has been sitting up for a while. If it's that dark color and ain't bright pretty, go ahead and vac this out. You would want to go ahead and vac out your brake reservoir. Now, to get the other brake fluid out of the line, whenever you're just going to have to gravity bleed it or bleed the brakes whenever we go in with our synthetic .4 brake fluid, we'll bleed all this other stuff out of here. Same thing with the power steering fluid, get as much out of it as you can. Once you break the system completely down, there's going to be very minute little bit still left into there, so whenever you mix in your new fluid, it'll dilute that stuff. No worries, you don't have to have it like spick and span dry. It's actually better to leave a little bit of oil in it anyway, so that way your seals don't dry up and dry cracking rubber and everything else. Let me think let's get the engine oil out of here. Just kind of stay on point here. I'm having problems today, guys. My head's in a lot of places, and I need to be focused on this car. Let's get this, probably them phone calls, but yeah, phone didn't work for one day. It was an enjoyment. That thing's working again today, boy. Alright, so we already know the engine somehow got destroyed, so we pretty much, oh my lord. It is just straight darkness that come out of this. That is not good at all. Alright, let's get this oil filter off and drop it down in our little bucket here. Alright, we'll just toss that right into here, and we'll move this thing back over there. Watch how fast this thing moves, guys. Watch it. Boom! Just insta. Alright, anyways, the wonders of cutting film. But alright, so we got all the fluid out. Normally they don't have it where you can drain the transmission fluid, but whenever we do the oil, we drain the oil and the oil thing, or the engine oil. We also go ahead and drain our transmission oil too, because we are gonna service this transmission whenever we get it down, or start pulling it apart. But that's it. Let's get it. We'll leave it up in the air from here. It's easier for me to work standing up than bending over. So let's go ahead and pull our tires off. Remember, guys, if you're using air tools, always pre-oil all your air tools before you start using them. That way they last you. Got some fast hands, boy. That quick draw, I could have worked for NASCAR, son. No, watch how fast. Not really. NASCAR's faster. They're like ring, 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 and then the tires coming off, ring, 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 and it's back on, and they're gone. Even as a kid, I never really was into NASCAR. I don't know why. I always liked, GT sports and Formula One sports, of like real cars that you would see going down the road and them racing them. That was always my favorite. But I will say this, nowadays, NASCAR is turning into a destruction derby. I saw something on TV the other day where they had some NASCAR going on. Them guys didn't even get a couple of laps in and they were already wrecking, which made it more entertaining for me. Now, well, it wasn't entertaining back in the day, because back then, whenever they would wreck, people would die. Like Dale Earnhardt, I remember the day that he died. I was actually watching it. As a kid, I didn't have very much to watch on TV, so I did kind of watch some NASCAR, but it wasn't like, oh my God, I got to watch everything of it. But I just so happened to be watching the day that he got in his wreck and he died. But nowadays they got a lot more safety features in the car. It keeps them protected, so they get out there and you can tell, boy, they just don't care. They run into each other, wreck across the track, and tear up cars. It was kind of amusing, but they definitely do not respect the precision driving skills that they had back in my generation. They just get out there and push each other around now. There was a respect in racing before that is clearly not there no more. But, alright, so my little history on NASCAR. We're going to get everything pulled off on this car before we break out our welding machine and do all that. So, I'm trying to think, why did I lower the vehicle down? Oh yeah, we're going to go ahead and clean out the engine bay. Go ahead and pull out these coolant reservoirs and get what we can out of here. And go ahead and pull this computer. We definitely don't want that getting tore up. Oh yeah, the wonderful clips. I wish all these air filter boxes just had the bolts on them. The bolts would be more of a pain in real life and the clips would be easier, but the clips on the game are the biggest pain that I've ever encountered. One, because I can't see them that well, and you got to get this little dot right on it or else it won't come off. Come on now. Alright, there we go. Looks like a good air filter. We should be able to reuse that. Ooh. I hope we can recondition this battery. That battery looks pretty rough. Go ahead and disconnect our fuel line and our fuel filter, and we're gonna pull. Oh, well, I see why the car overheated. The cooling fan went out, and radiator looks pretty good. Looks like we was able to power wash it, and it looks like our intercooler looks pretty good. Alright, We don't have to pull the fuse box. We're just going to lay the wiring harness to the engine and kind of tuck it over here, so we ain't going to pull all the wiring out of the vehicle. But let's go ahead and get it up in the air. We'll go ahead and pull our intercooler. We are going to pull our downpipe. Well, you know, I wonder what would be easier. Yeah, let's go ahead and get the downpipe out of the way. That'll give us some more work room with this half shaft, because we gotta start pulling this down. We are doing a complete brake job on this vehicle. So we're gonna go ahead and turn the rotors. Remember, you gotta pull this lower control arm off if you want to get this, and this link right here if you want to get this CV joint loose, because you want this piece to be able, because you got a lot of movement in this right here. You can move this back and forth, but you would actually break your axle nut loose on the ground, but while it's using the weight of the vehicle to hold it still, and then raise it up and take everything apart. But we should be able to get this drive axle out with our impact with no problem. And then you just grab out here at the bottom of this brake shield or the back of the knuckle and pull it out. Make sure you're holding the CV joint towards the transmission as you're pulling it this way, or else what happens, you pull that CV joint out of itself, and boy, you really got a mess then. You may not even be able to reuse that CV joint. So, but anyways, we got that one undone. We'll leave the tie rods and stuff like that connected. We won't have to take all that loose. But yeah, real easy. It's a lot of steps you got to do, and there's ways of doing stuff easier. And I'm trying to mimic the way I do stuff in real life whenever I work on cars. To make things, you know, easier for whenever you work on your car. That's the whole point in this, to kind of teach people how to work on their own vehicles. You know, while we can still do that before they come up with some law. You got to be an ASE certified technician to work on your own car. The day that happens, I'll never own a car. I'll build like a go-kart or something and just use it to get around in. If I have to. May not be able to drive it on the road, but there's plenty of grass. But anyways, I do appreciate my vehicles. I'm glad that the Lord gifted us with the knowledge of making these. It has definitely made things a lot easier. Can you imagine? And there's people out there that don't have vehicles. They have to walk every day or ride a bike. No problems with a bike, man. This weather is perfect for riding a bike. In fact, I'm going to probably ride my bike today. Go ahead and pull this CV joint out. Alright, so we got everything loose from the motor. Let's get back up underneath here where we can get this half shaft loose. Normally there will be a bearing and a bracket that hooks to the back of this block, and it goes into here, which I don't know why they leave the end of the CV joint stuck in the side of the transmission. They didn't do this exactly right, but the CV joint, this would actually be like a shaft there, and the CV joint would hook to the shaft, but there would be a piece of metal and bolts that hold a bearing, and once you undo that, this whole piece from right here just slides right out of the transmission. And it's that easy to pull it out. Now, your engine is completely free of anything holding it in there, because we've done unhooked all the hoses. We done taken the coolant out. We done unhooked the fuel line. We've unhooked the complete wiring harness and laid it over here in the corner by the, by your, where it's out of the way. Now, in every other vehicle, it may be a little bit different, but this is the overall way you would pull an engine out of the car. Fluids first, hoses, next. Basically anything that connects to the engine that keeps it from coming out of here. So we are in real life, you can actually pull this whole engine and transmission out of here at one time, but on the game they make you pull the transmission off, and I forgot about that because I'm thinking like I'm in the real life world. But so we got to pull this transmission off up underneath here. So with that being said, uh, there is no room to drop this transmission through here. We could go through the, let me see, do we got enough room? No, it don't look like we got enough room because we got the VVTi part of the cam phaser and stuff's in the way, so we're gonna have to drop the subframe. So we would be getting our jack over here, our subframe jack or transmission jack. You can put all types of different little heads on it, and we would go ahead and hook it up to this subframe, and we're going to drop it out of the way. Now, your engine is still going to be held into here by motor mounts, but there's also mounts to the subframe too, so you would have to take them loose. Go ahead and let it on down and roll it out of the way. Now, look how much room you got. You can drop that transmission straight out of there, and that's what we're going to do. Alright. And it looks like the rack and pinion and the anti-roll bar are actually attached to the frame on this car. That's kind of new. So most of the time they're hooked to the subframe. But let's go ahead and pull this. Oh, now I remembered why. Which we could actually pull that starter, but it is kind of high. We don't want to break no bolts in the side of the block, Lord. We'd be having to do some more machining. So let's go ahead and get our starter off. You have to pull the starter off before you pull the transmission, or else you could damage the nose cone on the starter, and it's a headache, believe me. But anyways, we're ready to pull the transmission now. So you'd have to get up here, hit this bolt. Yeah, I normally leave the bottom ones last, the ones I can get to, and pull it off. So it looks like the clutch is in really good condition. We'll go ahead and pull it off too. That way we ain't gotta mess with it on our engine stand. Now remember, whenever you start taking this pressure plate loose, get ready, because this clutch disc is just gonna fall out of there. So you gotta be ready to get it. And then this would be free dangling, so you know, grab it. And they sell a special tool that actually bolts to where the starter housing goes, and it's got teeth that lock down this flywheel so you can break the flywheel bolts loose, because they're a 12 point bolt, and they do require a pretty good torque wrench to get them broke loose, or a breaker bar. So just be prepared, be good. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea to spray it with some penetrating oil, because you know we're going to resurface the flywheel anyways and spray it down with brake cleaner, so just to get these bolts broke loose. But anyways, that's how you'd pull that off. And there's what they call a rear main seal back here. You can kind of see where it imitates it, but you just can't pull it apart. This is an oil seal that is prone to leaking and tearing up manual transmissions in cars. Rear main seals are a nightmare. They're one of the hardest things, because you got to pull the transmission just to replace this oil seal. But anyways, we're ready for a motor pull, guys. Let's go ahead and let this thing down. We'll get our little car rat, our little engine hoist over there. Alright, there we go. Alright, so we're ready to pull the motor out. And then you'd have to pull this thing over here. There's normally some little metal tabs where they stick up on the motor where you can hook chains and stuff too. And what this is a leveling bar, or as you're lifting up on the engine, you can level the weight distribution of the motor. That way it's coming out straight, not leaning and flinging everywhere, possibly tearing up other stuff in the car. But that's what this thing does. It's a engine weight distribution bar. All right, let's pull it out. All right, we'd have this thing out. It'd be hanging at the end, and we'd have to drag this over here and jack it up, get it even with this engine stand, and run some bolts through it, which I normally keep a bucket of bolts that we can use to stick through the engine block and bolt it down. But let's go ahead and get our engine on here, and we'll set down the camera, and I'll catch y'all then. Alright, so we got our engine on here. Got our jack and stuff put back up, or at least it's in front of the car for right now. But we're gonna start tearing down this motor because we know it ran hot and blew a head gasket. And I think it did, with as dark as that oil come out and all the metal flakes, I know there's damage in the bottom of this motor. So whenever we pull the head off of it, we will know exactly what we're up against on that. But let's get this thing moved back to where it was. But we're gonna go ahead and pull our ABS modulator out of here because we're gonna be doing some welding and cleaning up. Plus that stuff needs to be taken care of. It looks like, yep, the shock absorbers are actually damaged too, so we are gonna have to break down this stuff too. Go ahead and get our hub puller out. Pull it on out of there. And that could actually stay on the knuckle and just take it off, but this whole thing could come out of here at one time. I don't know why they do it like that, but alright. Let's get back over here. Same thing. You would use your bearing separator. It forces the bearing out, then you reverse the tool, unbolt it, and then it pushes the hub out without tearing up anything, or, you know, do your best not to tear it up. Sometimes those bearings come apart after they've been worn a lot. They just break, so you got to replace them. We're going to put new bearings in it anyway, so we use them Timken bearings or Dana Spicer. I forgot the other name of some really good bearings, and I'll end up remembering them before too long. International, that's it. International bearing in Timken. I like using. Alright. Let's take a look. The fuel tank got a little bit rusted in the back. We're going to try to do everything we can. We might as well just pull everything on this car and just go through it. And we've got it down this far, so let's go ahead and do it for them. We're just going to do a complete build on this thing. So if we ever run across a Hyundai Tiburon, I probably won't buy it at a junkyard or an auction, because we're literally doing that for Johnny's shop. Unless it's like a special edition at the junkyard and it's got a whole lot more horsepower than what it normally would. So, oh boy, this sway bar is so hard to see. Alright, there we go. Alright, let's get on the converter. They use the band clamp style exhaust, so it's real easy to take this stuff apart. Just undo that clamp and keep working down. Now in the back you're gonna have hangers that hold this big. Man, this thing's got a pretty big muffler on it anyways. We gotta get this thing out of the way so we can get to the fuel pump. Alright, so after you move it, you come up here to your fuel pump, which you could access your fuel pump through the back of the car, like inside the trunk area. There should be an access panel for it, but realistically you would have to undo the fuel lines from inside the vehicle, and then if you want to, you can just drop the fuel lines and the electrical harness, and then you can just drop fuel pump, tank, and all at one time. And there's normally some straps that hold this thing in. And you would also unhook your evap system too, if it did come with that. Because this was an 03, so yeah, it had an evap system then. So, alright, so we got that out of there. You know, we can't do no welding on the frame with any type of fuel in the car. That's just asking for our shop to get burned down. And we got our drag car that took us forever to build over there. Man, it would be, that's a nightmare even thinking about it. Alright, so let's get this thing down. I'm going to call up my guys at Monroe. It's a welding shop downtown. It's called Monroe Welding Supply. I'm going to hit them up and get a team of welders and fabricators to come down here, because I can do this, but I'm just one person, so I'm gonna need a crew down here to do this, because I got to get this thing done. So let's see how much they're gonna charge me to. I'll at least get the equipment set up for them. They're good on gas. We got argon, 75-25, oxygen, acetylene if they need to do any cutting, which I hope they don't. You know, all the sanding and grinding, and all the welding rods. We got all that stuff at Driven by Christ Auto. I just need some hands down here. So let's see how much they're going to charge me to do this. Okay. So they're only going to charge me $700. So it must just need to be cleaning. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to we're going to pay the $700 and let them come down here and do that while we go over here and disassemble our motor. Alright, so they already starting on it. You can hear all that stuff going on in the background. Y'all going to be hearing a lot of noises over there, but anyway, so we got to tear down our motor. We're going to pull our intake. This is a drive-by-wire throttle body. Alright, intake, remember there's going to be a gasket in between here. You may have to scrape it off. I don't know if it had a paper one or a rubber and metal one. Hopefully a rubber and metal. Then you would go ahead and pull your injectors, which these are direct port injectors. That's pretty cool. So if you wanted to, hey, with a nitrous system, you could do some stuff with this. You can direct put nitrous and fuel already pre-mixed into this motor to make more power, but I know they don't have nitrous oxide on here. I'm upset about it too. Go ahead and pull our tensioner pulley off, get our belt out of the way. Power steering pump, which is probably going to flood the floor with power steering pump, so you better get ready for the cat litter. Alternator. Remember, we ain't got to deal with a wiring harness right now. It's out of the way. We'll go ahead and pull this little mini turbo off of here. I don't know, that thing kind of looked kind of big. And this is what they call a log manifold for a turbo, which it's in good condition too. Ooh, the head is definitely damaged though. So you want to get back here on your VVTi part and go ahead and pull this off. Oil's probably going to pour all over the place. I'm going to go ahead and undo the this back cam phaser gear. That's the one that electronically allows the timing to advance and to retard. Of course, the chain would just fall off then, and we'll pull this back cam gear. Now, that lets us go ahead and move to the front side of the motor. Now, I got a special tool that locks this harmonic balancer down, or this crankshaft pulley. It stabs into it. It's got a really, really long arm for torque, and you can break this this crankshaft bolt loose, which is normally a pain. You got to use Big Bertha, which is one of those big 1-inch what they use for diesel mechanic work, or if you got a good impact. It's not, let me say that, it's not really good to use an impact on you know, taking the crankshaft bolt loose. It's better to use an actual breaker bar or torque wrench, because the impact slams up against that nut as it's trying to break it loose, and you can actually damage the threads in the crankshaft. And once you've damaged that, you're definitely pulling a motor apart. And sometimes these things like getting stuck on here too, and they have to have a puller that pulls them off. But luckily we didn't have that problem. I'm just saying, you know, letting you know about the nightmares that I have encountered working on these things. So let's get our timing belt cover off. Looks like it's good, not broken or missing bolts. Normally all the ones on the back and underside of a timing belt are gone, because they're the hardest ones to get to, and the guys are like, oh well, as long as 3 of them are there, it'll hold it on. I ain't gonna lie, my B series is missing half the timing belt covers because I modified the top part of the cover where I didn't have to pull the valve cover off of it, because you got to replace that gasket and you got to silicone it every time, and I like being able to check the tension on my timing belt every oil change to make sure, you know, everything's good. But anyways, so you go ahead and undo your tensioner, and this would not have a serpentine belt here. It would have a belt with teeth in it. A serpentine belt would not work. You see how there's teeth in this gear? I understand they just had to do that for the game purposes, but they could have put a belt with teeth in it. But anyways, it does have teeth, and these are very important. I'm not sure if this is an interference motor or a non-interference, but most of the time, uh, if I'm thinking, since this kind of looks like a cross between a Toyota and a Honda K-Series, I would almost want to say, because most turbo builds are low compression, that it's probably a non-interference motor. The higher the compression, the more closer the piston comes to the valve. So if you got low compression and you break a timing belt, more than likely, I ain't gonna say that it won't, but more than likely, if it's a non-interference motor, the piston can't come up and touch the valve and damage anything. And I love those. I love those type of engines. I wish that, you know, a lot of cars were made like that. That Toyota Celica GT4 that I had, it was a non-interference turbo motor. I was driving down the road, broke the timing belt on it. Put a new timing belt, got everything back up to TDC, and it fired right up, and I drove it for another 180,000 miles till I got in some trouble with it. We ain't gonna even bring that up. That was my young and dumb days. I will never do that again. I got caught up in some street racing, and I could have went to jail for a long time for what I did, but, you know, luckily, God had different plans for me. So let's get this valve cover off. Let's look at everything. Cams are looking good. So even though they kind of had some doo-doo oil in this car, the cams are not damaged. We're not going to pull the spark plugs out yet, just in case, you know, we drop bolts. We don't want them to fall down into the motor, even though we're taking it apart. Now, where you would want to start pulling these cams apart, you want to start, you know, somewhere in the center and work your way out. So there, and then just crisscross. But you would want to go ahead and put this up to top dead center before you start disassembling anything. Alright. Oh, I'm already messing up, guys. Look at there. Well, I guess you could have done it like that. I wish they had torque specs and like ways you had to build the motor. Had like little manuals you can look at and read. It would be so cool, like little fake Chilton manuals. Or what they use nowadays, Haynes. Or All Data or whatever, you know, whatever you got. But let's slide these camshafts out. Alright, so now what you would want to inspect is these rocker rollers down in here in the head, and I know that they're damaged. Yep, this one's got pits all in it and everything, so this head is completely destroyed. So now we can go ahead and pull our spark plugs out. But I will say this, before you start disassembling this engine, you can pull the plugs out to turn the engine over and make it easier to turn over with no compression, so you can get it up to top dead center, and then go ahead and put the plugs back in so you don't drop anything in the cylinders. Alright, whoops, right there. Alright, so now we go ahead and pull our head off. Now get ready. If this car recently was running or had fluid in it, it's fixing to be a mess everywhere. For some reason, not all the water comes out of these, especially whenever you pull this water pump off. There was probably a river that just fell on the floor in here. But, oh wow. There was no head bolts at all that held this on. Okay, well, anyways, guys, there really would have been, these are where your head bolts and studs and your water passages are, so it looks like it had 4 bolts on it. I don't know why they didn't show that in the game. Come on, guys, y'all are slipping now. But all 4 pistons are toasted in this thing, so looks like it washed the rings out on them and did some damage whenever it blew the head gasket, or maybe they ran it lean, or I don't really know what all went on with this car before Johnny got it. So we're gonna go ahead and rotate it over and get ready for a whole bunch more stuff to pour out of this engine all over the floor, and we'll pull our oil pan off. Alright, go ahead and slide the old pry bar in between there, because it's probably going to be some of that wonderful gray RTV that held it on there, or a gasket that you're going to spend 30 minutes cleaning off of the block. But the crankshaft is toasted, every part of this lower end is gone. So yeah, they locked this motor up with bad oil. Let's go ahead and pull our rod caps off. That way we can slide the pistons out onto the floor. We can just knock them out. They ain't no good anyways now. They done got scarred all up. Cylinders scarred all up. We're going to have to redo the block in our machine shop. The only one bearing that wasn't tore up. Alright, so we'll push them out the bottom. Let them fall on the floor, because we're going to put a new set of pistons in here. Push this out. Alright, there we go. Alright, so now we're going to start undoing our main bearings, which is crankshaft bearings. We're going to go ahead and pull them out. Now, I will tell y'all this. If y'all ever pull apart a real engine, get ready, because whenever you pull these things apart, oh my god, they stink so bad. Oh, they smell horrible, like burnt oil or something. It's because whenever you put this thing together, you got to put oil on it whenever you're torquing it down, and over the years of that oil being heated and cooled, it just stinks after a while. But anyways, we're ready to pull our crankshaft out. Now, remember I told y'all had like a rear main seal. This would actually have to be pulled down, and there's a seal that runs in between this crankshaft. And once you get all this out of the way, you'll be able to pick the crankshaft straight out of here. Alright, so we got our crankshaft out. Let's go ahead and pull our block off the engine stand, which you could easily carry this around. It probably only weighs about maybe 30 or 40 pounds. A bag, the cat litter bag is probably going to weigh more than this block does. So, alright, so let's take everything over here to the machine shop and see what we can get done. Alright. Hold up before we start this. If y'all want to, y'all can skip through this part. Just going to be fixing parts. I'm going to see what all we can save into here, and I'm also going to be doing the body repairs too. So if y'all don't want to see any of that, I understand. I don't have a time to get through it, so just kind of watch as you're skipping. Alright, was able to fix that. Fix that. I hope everybody is enjoying their day. You know, for the ones that are wanting to listen to me run my mouth. Lord's been good. Everything's been going pretty well. Oh, we was able to fix that cooling fan. And also on these radiators, how you would fix these if they didn't have a leak. They got like what they call a radiator comb, and most of the time, like whenever bugs are flying through the front of your car and hitting the radiators, it bends them little gills over in the radiator, or somebody spraying it too close with a pressure washer will do it too. Intercoolers the same way. Just put that radiator comb in there, straighten the fins out, and the air can get through it again and it'll work right. Brake caliper, we're going to rebuild them. new seals. I'm gonna refurbish everything that we can. Probably the control arms needed new ball joints. Intermediate shaft probably needed a new bearing. A little cleanup. Starter, you know, just go through it, grease it, check the appendix, make sure the solenoid still opens and closes. Gearbox, your basic maintenance, inner and outer shaft seals, and you know, make sure all your shifter linkages are new rubber bushings and stuff like that. ABS pump. Most of the time we send them off and another shop deals with them, but we was able to fix it. Just little stuff with this. So, my camera's letting me know I only got 5 minutes left of recording. So I'm going to try to get through this. We was able to replace the boots on the rack and pinion pump, clean out the throttle body. The injectors are pretty bad. So what we got is we got a bench flow tester. After we rebuild and clean the injectors up, we'll bench flow them and make sure that they are sending enough cc of fuel. You want to make sure they're close, because you don't want it sending too much and you don't want it to be not enough, because that computer's programmed for these injectors and the tolerances for them. Power steering pump probably just needed some new seals. Alternator need to be cleaned. Maybe check the diodes. Turbo, went ahead and replaced the bearings in the turbo and any seals and gaskets. Manifold probably just need to be cleaned. Get all the carbon deposit. Clean up the timing cover. Get the RTV off. Just need to be clean probably. Water pump, you know, make sure that it's not leaking, doesn't have any play in it. Clean up. We are going to resurface the camshafts and repolish them and get them back good. Just a clean up on that oil pan. The one rod bearing and crankshaft bearing that made it. And then let's see if we can remachine this block. Yep, we was able to fix most of everything in there. Alright. Alright, so Jamie's letting me know she's ready to go get something to eat, so there's going to be a part 2 to this. But anyways, guys, we're going to go catch some food. We'll come back, and before I start recording, I'm going to go ahead and take care of the body pieces and get it all fixed. That way, whenever we get back, we're going to be ready to start assembling this motor. So anyways, guys, y'all have a nice one. Y'all have a good day, a blessed lunch, whatever you're doing, let it be great. You know, think about the Lord, let him be in your life every day, and I promise you, watch how good the changes are. I ain't gonna say it's gonna be easy. It is definitely a challenge. Like, you will have trials. The devil is going to mess with you in ways that he knows you. He studies you. Whenever you say, hey, I'm for Jesus, that right then, you just turned him on to you big time. He's like, oh, you for Jesus? Well, let's see how you are, how good you are for him, because I'm going to throw everything at you. And that's exactly the way he thinks. But anyways, guys, I'm going to jump up here in the office, and we're going to go get some lunch. So I'll catch y'all in part 2. Later.